guys, my name's Rabea, this is my afro, and this is Ask the Fro number 13, where you ask questions and I do my very best to answer them. We don't have a sponsor this week, but the little snippet of playing you just heard was using the neck humbucker of my bare knuckle signature set. You will be able to get a double humbucker set. What you heard in the other video, the last Ask the Fro, was just the bridge pickup, whereas that was the neck split down to get the kind of funky stratty tones that I love very much. Anyway, let's get on with the questions. First question is from Lasagna, and Lasagna asks, what age did you start playing guitar? I started playing, well, I attempted to start playing when I was younger, like maybe 9, but I didn't really get into it very much then, so I sort of put it to one side and started playing drums. And drums was the thing I did from 8 years old to, well, yeah, around 15, when I was 15 and a half when I started picking up the guitar seriously because of the leg injury, so that would make it 16 years now, probably closer to 17 years that I've been playing guitar for now, which is quite a long time. Next question is from The Crocs. Says, interesting that you don't swear in your videos. Is that a personal change or a presentation thing? It's really interesting. I actually come off, like, it's not that I'm not polite, but in videos I seem to be very well-to-do, I guess. That's what my sister says. She likes to make fun of that side of my YouTubing kind of thing. I don't really swear in videos. What's the point, you know? Like, there's plenty of words to use in the English language that can express the feeling I'm trying to express without necessarily having to swear. I will say that when I'm not being filmed and I'm not on camera, I'm probably a little more lackluster with my choice of vocabulary, but it's just one of those things. I don't see the need to as such. Sometimes there might be the odd swear word in a video if it's a vlog or something, but it's not. I don't really see the need. So yeah, I hope that answered your question. Next question is from Carl Mann. He says, what bass gear do you use? Bass gear, I have a Dark Glass Microtubes 900 V2, which I did a video of not long ago actually. It's a fantastic amplifier that I use for recording, so that was a pre and post DI. But I also use the Alpha Omega pedal. It's all Dark Glass gear because I'm not a bass player, but you know, Dark Glass are fantastic, and I know Doug really well from Dark Glass, and you know, I've done videos for them, and so I've got the bass gear in return for those. Things like the Microtubes X, basically they do everything I need them to do. You know, like if I was a real bass player, I'd probably have like a precision bass as well, and you know, some other bits and bobs to try and, you know, like compressors and things to get me what I need. But for what I need to do within my music and the amount of bass playing I actually do, I would say, yeah, just I'm all sorted with the Dark Glass gear because it's fantastic. Next question is from John Pinnock, and he asks, hi Rabea, firstly I've been following you for quite some time now, and I'd just like to say I love your playing and down-to-earth approach to your videos. Thank you very much. He says, keep it up dude. And secondly, what would you recommend in regards to developing your own style and tone? I think it's just one of those things where like you'll plug into something and you'll find it inspiring to play and easy for you to get your ideas across and play. And that can change all the time throughout life. Like I never used to play strats into like a cleaner kind of amp, but I find that one of the most rewarding things now is like a strat or a telly into like a cleaner sound. But that being said, you know, you might find that high gain with humbuckers is your thing, and you can get your ideas out and you can express yourself most easily that way. So my recommendations for finding your own style and tone is just try different things. If you've only ever tried humbuckers into high gain, mix it up a bit. Throw something into the mix that's completely different to what you normally use. You might find that it really helps, like fuzz. You never know. You might be into fuzz and you might find it really satisfying to use in your tone. You might never have really played with lots of reverb and delay, so give it a go. And just, you know, it's all relative. There are so many different ways to, you know, like influence yourself into trying new things, in pinpointing what it is that really speaks to you about a sound or a tone or a style. And the way you really find that out is by playing more and experimenting more. Next question is from GR Greg. He said, how did you start cooperation with Leo? I bet it's a lot of fun. It is very, very fun. I met Leo a fair few years back at NAMM, because obviously he's a Chapman artist as well, and it was a year when we rented an Airbnb there, and he came to the house and we didn't really get to chat much then. He's quite quiet, is Leo, like keeps himself to himself. And also I think because I just assumed, he's like a huge YouTuber, that he'd be not interested in chatting to me or whatever at the time. But then we did get chatting at the show, because he was at the stand and I helped him he was performing and I was running the mixing desk and stuff, and we got chatting there. And I think he used my baritone at the time to do the songs, which was cool. And then, yeah, he then got in touch and said, do you want to do a cover with me? Like, do you want to do Get Lucky? You can do a guitar solo. So I jumped at the opportunity. It was a lot of fun. And then we kind of chatted over like, Facebook Messenger and that kind of thing. And then I ended up going out there with Hannah to Norway to hang out without any desire to do any music, just to hang out, like just to chat and get to know each other. And that was really fun. And then he happened to have the Africa cover, and we recorded that solo, did that with Hannah, and then that went out and got massive. And then we just kind of stayed in touch and started hanging out more and just doing more stuff. And he'd come over to England and I'd go to Norway, and then one thing led to another. And then he gave me a call that time and said, I want to do the live band, but I only really want to do it if you're interested in playing guitar, because I want to play with musicians that I trust and have fun with, and they're relaxed and cool guys. So I said, I'll absolutely do it. So yeah, and then since then we've just become closer friends, and I consider him a close friend of mine. Where we've had many a time to chat deep on stuff and just talk about life, and as mates do, so that's how it started, at least. Next question is from Corey Williams, and he says, what is the meaning of life? I mean, I'm not going to try and answer that in any kind of depth kind of way. I would just say, be a good person. Treat people how you mean to be treated yourself. If you emit positivity in your life and the way you go about doing things, positivity will come into your life. That might sound really hippie, but from everything you do, like in every single area that you conduct yourself throughout life, sometimes it's really difficult and you might get dealt, a rubbish hand, but as long as you can pull some level of positivity from a situation, whatever that might be, and focus on it, it'll help you feel better about things. And generally, if you can just be a good person, be happy, and think about things in a positive way, in a happy way, then it's progression, and that will come back to you. And that's kind of the advice I've given myself over the years. So I wouldn't say that's the meaning of life. I just think that's rules that I choose to go by, at least. There is, who knows the meaning of life? Like, I don't know. Next question is from Skyline, says, what was it like realizing you could do music full time? I think when I moved out from the house with Rob, because he put me up for 6 months after I finished ACM, and I'd started to accumulate work and gain relationships with different brands to do videos and whatever. And it got to a point where I could afford to live on my own, well, with Hannah, rent a house and do that. I think that's when I realized, oh wow, this is really happening, and this is doing its thing. And I think about it now, it's like, I just feel super grateful and thankful that people are interested in what I have to show and what I have to do and what I have to say. And there isn't really much to say other than just, it's a great feeling when you realize that you're in control of your own path. With music especially, is the thing I love the most in my life, aside from Hannah, of course. But like, what I love doing with my time most is being musical, being creative. So being able to do that and focus on that and share that with people, and then they like that and enjoy it and talk positively about it, it's a kind of dream come true thing. It's just that when you're in it and you're doing it all day, all night, you don't really think it. When people go, oh, you're living the dream, you don't really think of it like that, because you're just doing it. You're busy and you're cracking on. But I guess in a lot of ways it is. I'm just fortunate again. Just feel thankful. So, next question is from Vomit Goblin. He says, ask the Fro, what speakers do you use in your cabs and why? So the go-to speakers I use is a V30 for the articulation, the kind of bright, intense kind of sound, because V30s are great for chord definition and the bark and that kind of high gain stuff. And I also use a G12H65, or is it a G1265H, because they're two different speakers, because it's like a it's like a low mid kind of thicker sound with a bit of roll off on the top, so it gets the thickness and the depth and the warmth that I like, and I have that blended in my cabs always. I just find it happens to be a really good combo. Used to be a G12K100, but now it's the G12H or G1265H or H65. I can't remember, but yeah, those two speakers really nice for the kind of music and the kind of style of guitar playing I like to do. Okay, this question is from Robert Dahlstrom. He says, "Hi, long time, first time. I was wondering whether there was any specific reason behind the two different versions of Illumo. In the original Ode to the Author recording, the bridge section, bars 233 to 237, is played differently than on the live album. This live version is also on the birthday playthrough. Why the change? Thanks for the Monster Tones, all the best." To tell you the truth, honestly, I don't know. There's a lot of Tosca where we kind of improvise. There'll be, I'll just decide to change it up a bit because it's fun. When you get so used to playing the same thing over and over again, it's nice to mix it up a little bit and just, try something a bit different on that bit, try a different shape there, or like play it a bit differently. I'm always messing around with the rhythm of sections very subtly, and I think Ben does the same. I don't think he ever plays the same thing twice. If you asked him to play beat for beat Illumo like on the recording, he probably won't be able to do it because it's improv. And same with Dave. We all just like to, there's such an element of jam in and amongst all the songs that they're always a bit, like for example, we definitely play the songs off the new album slightly differently to how they are on the recording, because you just start to, it becomes more comfortable and you start to mess with it a bit more, and it's just, I like it that way. I think it's cool. It's like with Nuno, when I used to watch live videos of him, he never quite played the same thing twice, and I just thought that's kind of cool. It means he's just there's an element of improv to it, and I like that. It keeps things fresh. Next question is from Tristan Thompson. Says, question for the next Ask the Fro. I'm going to be going into the studio for the first time. Any tips on how to make the most of the time while I'm there, and how best to separate the bass and guitar in the mix when we are both tuned to the same pitch in drop F? And yes, that's on your Sig baritone and it's damn heavy. Thank you very much. It says, I love all the stuff with Dodge and Tosca, keep it up. So Tristan, when you're going into the studio, you kind of just, one thing you'll notice is when you're double, triple, quadruple tracking guitars, you should be using less gain, so that, because you're stacking those on top, so it's going to sound really gainy. If you have if you've got too much gain in and you quadruple track, it's just going to sound mushy and messy. What you're looking for, even in heavy tones, is articulation. You don't want it to just sound like mush. You'll probably find you want to use less low end overall, even in the bass. You want to find the sweet spot in the bass tone where you can really hear the nice raspy, snarly definition. And likewise, the area in the guitar where that is, and also see if you can, it's like a jigsaw piece. So like how jigsaw pieces slot in together, think about that when you're doing bass and guitar tone, because they, in the mix, you want to be able to pick them out individually. If you, I'm not sure if you're the one mixing it, but generally speaking, you'll find there'll be way less low end in the sound if you isolated it than you think, because low end is sometimes perceivable, like when you do the master and you do the master EQ and everything, that's when you can add it back in, but it allows headroom on all your compression and limiting and all that kind of stuff, But anyway, I would suggest backing off the gain. Not tons, but just back it off enough so it's still comfortable to play. Then once you've quadruple tracked or triple or double tracked or whatever, however many tracks you do, get the bass tone to sit in there so that when you play it alongside each other, you can pick out those notes that you can hear on the bass. You can pick out the attack. So that would be my advice. In terms of prepping for the studio, just make sure that you got enough fresh strings, you've got enough different guitars and amps to choose from, or even just bring a lot of pedals if you've got them. Anything to experiment, because you never know. Things are definitely different in the studio than what you'd expect. I know for a fact that, like when we did the Tosca albums, even the Dodge albums, most of the gear we used on recording is not what I use in my live setup. Of course I use the Krakens and my Sig guitars, but alongside many other guitars and also many other amplifiers and pedals and things. So it's really about what works for the sound, and actually you might end up basing your live sound around that afterwards. So it's kind of a win-win. So I hope that was helpful. Love the studio. Cherish every moment. It's a really, really fun experience. Document it, not necessarily for online or YouTube, but just for your own memories to look back on, because those times are some of the most special, at least for me as a musician. I love the studio. Next question is from Michael Anderson, and he says, what's your honest opinion of Bosch Nexxt tone, and do the tube settings really make a difference in the sound and tone? The Bosch Nexxt tone is awesome, genuinely. Like, I got to hear one brand new when I went over to Japan and tried it with a couple of different guitars. The tube settings do make a difference. It's a response feeling. Like the EL84 sounds very different to the EL34, 6v6 against the 6L6. They all have their own. You know, if you want a nice glassy clean, try the 6L6 or the EL84. If you want a really barky, like British, snarly sound, use the EL84s or 34s. It really depends what you're trying to do. 6v6 work great with the Fenders, and generally they're just a great amp. The Katana, the Nexxt tone, Boss just know what they're doing. So, I don't have anything bad to say about them. For people on a tighter budget or something versatile, for the money, they're fantastic. Really have nothing bad to say about them, to be honest. Next and final question is from Chaim Rochester. I don't know if I said your name right. I apologise if I didn't. This is sort of random, but I'm a huge fan of both you and Devin Townsend. Devin is sick. Have you ever met? I know your styles are quite different, but it occurred to me the other day that the two of you would make a pretty awesome collaboration. I have met Devin Townsend. I bumped into him at the NAMM show, and I think oddly enough he kind of recognised me from something to do with YouTube maybe, but obviously I knew who he was. Love Devin Townsend. He's a phenomenal songwriter and singer, and just personality. Honestly, I would be so up for doing a collaboration with Devin Townsend. It would be so sick. But of course, I imagine many musicians would be. It's one of those things. Maybe one day it'd be really cool to do something like that, but one can only dream, can't they? I think it's nice that I have heard that before. People have said, you and Devin Townsend have a similar thing going on with the ambient stuff. Maybe. I would love to do that, but it's not really a great answer to the question. I have met him. He's a lovely guy. I had an interview with him for Metal Hammer Golden Gods, and he was fantastic. Really down to earth, super nice guy. And yeah, it would be great to get to chat to him again one day. And of course, collaborating with him would be a dream. So, yeah. Okay, so that is Ask the Fro number 13. Thank you all so much for the questions. I really enjoy doing these, as I say every time. It's nice to connect with you all. Hopefully the answers were good for those of you who asked the questions. If you've got any more, put them in the comment section below, and I will do my very best to answer them, as always. I've been Rabea. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all very soon.